What's up everyone, it's Jambor's new video, and this will be a podcast video because I've crossed through one very interesting topic and I'm thinking of creating a series, What If? What if Eurovision countries who are represented at Eurovision are restricted on budget? What if they all need to have the same budgets for staging? Because I heard one artist to saying that this would be one of the fairest things, if they can contribute the same. And I was like listening to it, and then I was also saw one guy on Twitter or X to talk how brilliant this idea would be. And I was like we are living in a little bit different world of fairy tales and the world of reality. And I would like to tell you the reality part, because I'm a producer myself, not just was doing Eurovision, but normally doing many television and non-television projects, understand budgeting, it doesn't matter, like professionally in the field, right? And crossed through me so many things. First of all, the countries who are finding excuses why something they cannot do because of the budget, because somebody else do it, pay to win, whatsoever, are excusing, basically already apologizing for some kind of failure. This is first red flag, I would say. Like, what's in the thoughts that somebody says that the countries need to have a restrictive budget? And now I will tell you first of all why. Because budget based on what country? Europe is completely diverse, not just by languages and nationalities and colors and cultures and approaches and so on, which I think this is kind of brilliant, but also on wealth. And it's completely different if, for example, you put 200 or 100,000 euros as Albania, and if you put 100,000 euros as a budget for France. Because in France probably you wouldn't be able even pay the artist, or pay the artist his stuff, don't even saying the director of this, the composition and so on, because we are talking about completely different prices. So on which budget actually it would be fair? If you put it on France budget, anyway, Albania wouldn't be able to fulfill such a budget. So there will be always a disproportion. And the salaries in Albania, Czechia, Poland, France, Germany, Spain, UK, Moldova, they're absolutely different in the same profession. So the camera guy in each country earns completely different money. And it can happen that I'm using Albania as an example, yes, but for example, in Albania and France or Germany, the difference between what the same profession earns can be at 10 times different. That also means that the people who are working on stagings, they are paid differently. They are on the same level. They maybe having the same quality, but they are paid completely differently. So if you put restrictive budgets on this, you would first, like if you put it, for example, on French budget, you wouldn't change a thing. If you put it on Albania thing, the whole quality of the Eurovision will go down, because France wouldn't be able to afford it, wouldn't be able to even do it, or UK or Germany or Switzerland. They wouldn't be able to make it happen, and they wouldn't be able to pay the best directors. And of course you can say like, but Albania also cannot. But this is it. Albania can develop. This is what they need to do. They need to find creative people to develop, and maybe one day that person will be hired in France. This is the Eastern European trauma, I think, that in here, also in Czechia and further east, we are feeling downgraded because we are not that wealthy. But it all goes with some cons and pros, it's not that simple thing to just say now we all will do the same budget, it will make the contest fair. Actually, it would be the most unfair thing. It sounds to me like communism, because it feels like if I cannot afford it, no one can afford it. We have this saying that one neighbor has a goat, the other one doesn't have it. So what would you do? To be fair, kind of you split the goat in half. So it's a dead goat. Basically no one having anything, right? So this is where we would be heading, instead of trying to make the quality of our act better by creative ideas. Because everybody says, or a lot of fans, I know that you don't have a clue, because everybody says everything is so expensive at Eurovision, but what is actually expensive at Eurovision are fireworks or props. Two things, elementary expensive. Fireworks, okay, this is on the countries, but you don't need to fucking use them. Like, you don't need to really have fireworks. You can use lights, blinking lights, effects. Like, you can be super creative. I'm annoyed by fireworks. They are the cheap effect, which is extremely expensive. I don't really think it's worth it for most of the songs. There are much more better creative ways how to overcome obsolete fireworks, at television especially. But some countries can afford it using them. I don't know if it's worth it or not. I don't really think that somebody will vote for a country because it had fireworks. On the other hand, and this is important, the props, you can build them yourself, and then you need to be sure that they work on stage. So you need to take a person, technician or somebody who will take care of this prop, ship it and so on, and take care of this prop on the set, because you need to be responsible for it. Or you need to ask the Eurovision team to build it, and of course therefore you need to pay it in the money which is actually somehow fine in that particular country. So for example in Switzerland would be probably very expensive, right? But if you know all of those perks, if you know all of those pros and cons, why would you go this way with your idea? Why would you say that it would be fair? Because you have all of the elements there in the price. You have lights, which you just need to creatively tell them how you want them to work. You have edits and cameras. This is again on you. You can take your phone, shoot from million angles your act, edit it, and say, I want it to have this vibe, atmosphere, this edit, this second happens this and that, and let's do it this way. You can also edit it yourself. Now in every computer you can do it. Everybody almost can do it nowadays. And also you can choreograph yourself at home with your money. You don't need to ask somebody at Eurovision to do it. So, and also you pay your own people. You only need to pay hotels for them, but like any other country anyway, and the prices are similar. You can choose the cheaper hotel, you can choose the very expensive, depends on what you can afford. And this is fair. Or like, why we try to use this word fairness in such a way? Like, for me, what's not fair that producers are choosing the running order. For me, this is not fair. For example, fair would be if country after country is taken out, first, second, third, that would be fair. Maybe it wouldn't be that perfect for the show as a show, but it's still a competition. I think we are completely forgetting it's a competition. It's also a competition of creativity. Tell me, for example, what France was using expensively last year. Nothing. They were using only the stage. What Croatia was using last year, super expensive. Nothing. There are so many other, Portugal. There are so many other examples of how you can creatively think of your act, and you don't need to say, but it would be better if we have those stairs over there. Or if you know that you cannot have them, figure out a better way. I think it gives you the opportunity to find many solutions to the problems instead of finding the problems. And I think this is our Eastern, at least Czech and Slovaks mentality, that we are really trying to find problems first instead of thinking about solutions, because the problem is a situation which needs to be solved, and it's a challenge, and I love those challenges. We need to have those challenges, because otherwise how can we get better? If we can only pay for everything, would it make the song better? Would it make the performance better? How can you say it? Then it means that you know nothing about this world, and it's principally really wrong. It's an excuse to failure. It's a bad mentality. And I think we and also fans needs to understand that this is not good claims to be said, because that leads to digression. That would lead to digression. We need to think about progression, and progression is here in our heads. The creativity, all the ideas are here. We don't need props, we don't need fireworks. The only things you need to pay extra at Eurovision. The rest is up to you. And if you figure out how to do it, this is the mastery. Not that you cannot do something because you cannot afford it, but no one forces you to have it. There are millions and millions of solutions. And it's not necessarily, and there is no reason to think about the problems. There is no time for it either. And if somebody has time for this, it already is a red flag, actually. And I would really like you, as a fans of Eurovision, to understand that this world works differently. It's actually very fair. Like, you don't need to wear Balenciaga. It's why? Like, will it make you a better person, better director, better artist, better whatsoever? It's just showing some kind of status, nothing else. But people are not voting for such things. People voting for equality. And if you wear this or you wear something else, doesn't matter. You should focus on it to look perfect on camera, but you don't need this brand, you know? You can choose another solutions because they exist. This world is extremely creative. Eurovision forces you to be creative. And if you are failing in that, then, and whoever fails in that, just needs to move on, and this work must be moved on to somebody else, in my opinion, because then it's a dead circle, and we need to understand that if we want to grow, we need to change the mentality, and as your fans, you need to understand how things also work. Yeah, this is what I wanted to tell you. Write me in the comments below, actually, if you have some questions to this, because sometimes I feel a huge confusion and I have a huge urge to tell you how the things really are, especially from the producer's position, which you cannot actually know because you've never done this job, this work, and you feel that some things are right, which are actually not. And I don't blame you at all. I just want to correct those topics. So if you have ideas for what if, and you would like my answer to this, write them in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and if you want to see full contents of my videos, most of it, or exclusive content, become members. You can also support me with this. Well, and I see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.